The cargo hold reeked of fear and desperation. Dex Hawkins adjusted his breather mask and moved silently between shipping containers, his electromagnetic disruptor primed in one hand, a scanner in the other. What had started as a simple salvage operation on an apparently abandoned freighter was quickly becoming complicated. "Biological signatures confirmed," he muttered, eyes narrowing at the scanner's display. "And they're definitely not the standard crew complement." 10 years as a Terran special operations soldier had given him an instinct for trouble, and 5 years since as a freelance salvager hadn't dulled it. This Orion-class freighter showed signs of pirate modifications, illegal weapons mounts, and scrambled identification codes. Dex hadn't planned on playing hero today, but some lines even a disgraced ex-soldier couldn't ignore. The containment field on the cargo bay door ahead flickered blue as he approached. Through the translucent energy barrier, he could make out several humanoid forms in separate holding cells. His scanner registered at least 5 different species, all female. "Slave traders," he growled, disgust rising in his throat. The galaxy's endless appetite for exotic companions kept this particular black market thriving despite Galactic Union sanctions. Dex disabled the alarm system with practiced efficiency and sliced into the door controls. The barrier dissolved with a soft hum, and he stepped into a nightmare. 20 holding cells lined the walls, each containing a single prisoner. Some huddled in corners, others stood defiant, but all wore the same neural suppression collars, standard equipment for controlling valuable merchandise. A tall, blue-skinned woman with iridescent markings watched him with piercing silver eyes. Her Visharan heritage was evident in the delicate gill structures along her neck. In the cell beside her, a feline Meyerland with golden fur and retractable claws hissed a warning. "I'm not with them," Dex said, keeping his voice low. "I can get you out, but we need to move quickly." "Why would a human help us?" The question came from a slender figure with pale violet skin and luminescent patterns that pulsed with her words. Ataraxian, if Dex remembered correctly, telepaths and empaths highly valued by certain collectors. "Because I've seen enough people treated like property," he answered, working to disable the first cell. "And I've got no love for pirates." A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Someone had discovered his shuttle docked to the emergency airlock. "Time's up," he muttered, accelerating his efforts. The first cell barrier dissolved, freeing the Visharan woman. "I am Callista," she said, voice like liquid silver. "Former royal guard to the 7th House of Vishar." "Dex Hawkins, former lots of things." He moved to the next cell, freeing the Meyerland. "Can you fight?" The feline woman flexed her claws in response, a predatory smile revealing sharp canines. "I am Talia, and yes, human, I can fight very well." One by one, he released the prisoners. Alara, the violet-skinned Ataraxian. Nyx, a crimson-scaled reptilian Dracari with thermal vision, and several others from species he barely recognized. "The control room," Callista said, removing her neural collar with Dex's help. "They keep our belongings there, weapons included." Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor, armed guards responding to the alarm. "You get what you need," Dex said, tossing Callista a spare blaster. "I'll hold them off. My shuttle's at airlock C-12. Anyone not there in 15 minutes gets left behind." The first pirates rounded the corner, and Dex's disruptor sent them sprawling. Behind him, the freed captives moved with deadly purpose, following Callista toward the control room. Dex had started the day looking for salvage. Instead, he'd found himself a war. The shuttle lurched violently as it broke away from the pirate vessel, warning lights flashing across the cockpit console. Dex's hands flew over the controls, evading the haphazard energy blasts from the larger ship. "Hold on," he shouted over his shoulder to his unexpected passengers. The 7 alien women had crammed into the small craft designed for 3, their faces illuminated by red emergency lighting. Callista, the Visharan guard, stood directly behind him, one blue hand gripping the back of his chair. "Their weapons array is targeting your propulsion system," she observed coolly. "Adjust vector by 12 degrees. Dex didn't question her military knowledge, banking the shuttle sharply. A blast of energy sizzled past, missing them by meters. "You know your way around a combat vessel?" he asked, punching in the coordinates for the jump to hyperspace. "I commanded the Royal Interceptor fleet before my capture," she replied, silver eyes fixed on the pursuing ship. The Visharan's seventh house trains its guards in all aspects of warfare. In the passenger compartment behind them, tensions ran high. Talia, the golden-furred Meyerland, paced the limited floor space, her tail lashing with agitation. The reptilian Drackery, Nyx, sat cross-legged on the floor, sorting through a collection of knives she'd reclaimed from the control room. "We should have destroyed their ship," Nyx hissed, her forked tongue flicking between sharp teeth. "Left no survivors." "And risk detonating the fuel cells with us still in range," countered Alara, the Ataraxian empath. Her violet skin seemed to absorb the emergency lighting, making her appear like a shadow with glowing eyes. "The human made the right call." "The human has a name," Dex called back, finally punching through to hyperspace. The stars stretched into blue lines as the shuttle escaped. "And Dex would appreciate knowing who exactly he's harboring on his ship." The shuttle stabilized in hyperspace, and Dex turned to face his passengers. Besides the four he'd interacted with, there were three others: a crystalline being with translucent skin who introduced herself as Meridia, a small, nimble woman with emerald skin and 4 arms named Pax, and a stoic humanoid with metallic silver hair and ebony skin who called herself Rhea. "We were all taken for different reasons," explained Alara, her empathic abilities making her the natural spokesperson. "Callista for her military knowledge, Talia for her hunting skills, myself for my telepathic abilities." "They wanted my thermal manipulation," added Nyx, heating one of her blades until it glowed red-hot, then cooling it instantly. "Rare even among Drackery." "And the others?" Dex asked, eyeing the remaining 3. "Meridia's crystalline biology makes her nearly immortal," Alara continued. "Pax is the galaxy's most notorious thief, and Rhea—" she hesitated. "I am the last of the Cynthians," Rhea stated flatly. "My blood contains nanites that can heal almost any wound. The pirates intended to harvest me indefinitely." Dex leaned back in his chair, processing this information. "So I've rescued a royal guard, an empath, a heat manipulator, an immortal, a master thief, a living medicine factory, and—" He turned to Talia, who bared her teeth in what might have been a smile. "I hunt things," the Meyerland said simply. "Things that don't wish to be found." "Perfect," Dex muttered. "So what now? I drop you all at the nearest Galactic Union outpost and we go our separate ways." The temperature in the cabin seemed to drop as the women exchanged glances. "The Union is compromised," Callista stated. "How do you think pirates obtained a military-grade suppression field? How did they know exactly when and where to find each of us?" "Someone high in the Union hierarchy is protecting the trafficking networks," added Pax, her 4 hands moving restlessly. "Reporting to authorities would only alert our enemies." Dex pinched the bridge of his nose. "So what's your plan then?" "Vengeance," Nyx said simply, her reptilian eyes gleaming. "Justice," corrected Callista, "for ourselves and for others still captive." Alara stepped forward, her luminescent patterns pulsing gently. "We have skills, Dex Hawkins, but no ship, no resources. You have both." She gestured around the shuttle. "We propose an alliance." "You want me to help 7 deadly alien women hunt down slave traders and corrupt officials?" Dex laughed incredulously. "That's suicide." "Perhaps," agreed Callista, "but your actions on the slave ship suggest you possess both conscience and combat skills, rare qualities in this sector." Talia moved closer, her feline grace unmistakable. "Besides," she purred, "your scent tells me you've been running from something too. Perhaps it's time to run toward something instead." Dex looked at each of them, warriors, survivors, fugitives, and saw something of himself reflected back. His shuttle's navigation system beeped, announcing their approach to his hidden base in the Ceres asteroid belt. "I've got a larger ship docked there," he said finally. "Better weapons, proper quarters. If we're doing this, we do it right." The women exchanged looks of satisfaction as the shuttle emerged from hyperspace, revealing a sprawling asteroid field ahead. "First target," stated Callista, "is the Nexus auction house in the Orion Drift. That's where we were headed before your intervention." Dex nodded, plotting the new course. 1 decision, 7 dangerous allies, and a target that would put them in the crosshairs of the galaxy's most powerful criminals. Just another day in the life of Dex Hawkins, salvager turned revolutionary. He wondered which would kill him first, their enemies or his new allies. The Nexus auction house floated like a grotesque jewel in the darkness of the Orion Drift, a massive space station disguised as a luxury resort. Its golden spires and crystalline domes belied the corruption within, where the wealthy bid on everything from stolen artifacts to living beings. Dex's ship, the Nomad, drifted silent and dark among the merchant vessels and private yachts. From the observation deck, he watched the steady stream of shuttle traffic through high-powered optics. "Security is tighter than expected," he noted as Callista joined him. "Military-grade scanners on all approaches." The V. Sharon's silver eyes narrowed. "As I suspected, the auction house operates under official protection." Over the past week, the unlikely crew had melded into something resembling a functional unit. Dex's ship, a refitted Terran corvette with significant modifications, provided ample space for training and planning. Each woman had claimed a section of the vessel, adapting it to their needs and biology. "Talia's return shuttle is approaching," announced Meridia, her crystalline form catching the starlight as she entered. The immortal being had taken to monitoring communications, her centuries of experience making her adept at decryption. Moments later, the Meyerland hunter stalked onto the deck, golden fur gleaming. She'd volunteered to infiltrate the station's lower levels, her feline senses perfect for reconnaissance. "The main auction begins in 6 hours, Talia reported, dropping a stolen security badge on the table. "I counted 28 captives in the holding cells, various species, all female, all wearing neural suppressors." "And the bidders?" asked Callista. "Union officials, corporate executives, even a Mercerian prince." Talia's lip curled in disgust. "All protected by private security forces." Dex activated the holographic display, showing the station's schematics that Pax had stolen from the Union archives. "So we stick with the original plan. Alara and I infiltrate as buyers. Pax accesses the security mainframe, while Callista, Nyx, and Talia position for extraction." "And I remain with the ship as planned," added Rhea, the Cynthian entering with her silver hair tied back. She'd taken charge of the Nomad's weapons systems, her synthetic biology interfacing directly with the targeting computers. "What about me?" asked Meridia, her crystalline form shimmering with anticipation. Dex hesitated. The immortal being's physiology made her virtually indestructible, but also highly conspicuous. "You're our insurance policy. If everything goes wrong, you go in and create a diversion nobody will forget." Meridia smiled, her translucent face refracting light like a prism. "I haven't caused chaos in centuries. It will be refreshing." The plan was set, but the tension between them had evolved into something more complex than simple alliance. Dex had noticed the subtle competitions between the women, for leadership, for space, and increasingly for his attention. While Alara prepared for their infiltration, adjusting her appearance to match wealthy clientele, Dex retreated to the cargo bay to check their weapons. He found Nyx already there, methodically cleaning her collection of blades. "Your heart rate increases when the V. Sharon speaks to you," the Dracari observed without looking up, her reptilian senses detecting changes imperceptible to others. "Yet your pupils dilate when the Meyerland enters a room." Dex kept his focus on the pulse rifle in his hands. "I wasn't aware I was being monitored so closely." Nyx's crimson scales shifted slightly, her equivalent of a shrug. "All predators observe potential mates. It is natural." "We're not here for mating," Dex replied firmly. "We're here for justice." The Dracari's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "The two are not mutually exclusive, human, and isolation breeds poor tactical decisions." Before Dex could respond, Alara appeared in the doorway, transformed by her empathic abilities to project an aura of aristocratic disdain. Her violet skin now shimmered with gold accents, her simple clothing replaced by flowing garments of apparent wealth. "It's time," she said, her luminescent patterns pulsing with anticipation. The auction house's main hall dripped with ostentatious luxury, fountains of luminescent liquid, anti-gravity platforms carrying exotic delicacies, and holographic art that shifted with the viewer's moods. Dex adjusted the collar of his borrowed finery, feeling Alara's steadying hand on his arm. "The merchandise preview begins in 10 minutes, she whispered, her empathic abilities scanning the crowd. "Pax is in position." Through their encrypted communications, they heard the thief's voice. "Security mainframe accessed. Cameras looping in sectors 7 through 12 proceed to the lower levels. They moved casually toward an ornate elevator guarded by private security. Ilara projected confidence and belonging so convincingly that the guards merely nodded as they approached. Once inside, Dex removed a panel and rewired the controls. "Callista, we're descending to the holding area," he reported. "Be ready for extraction in 15 minutes. "Acknowledged," came the Visharan's crisp response. "Talia and I are in position at extraction point Alpha." The elevator doors opened to reveal a stark contrast to the luxury above, clinical corridors lined with energy barriers containing the merchandise. Guards patrolled with stunners, ensuring the captives remained docile. "How do you want to play this?" Dex whispered. Ilara's gentle expression hardened. "No more subtlety." Her empathic abilities surged outward, overwhelming the guards with waves of confusion and panic. They dropped to their knees, weapons clattering to the floor. Dex moved quickly, disabling the central control panel for the holding cells. The energy barriers flickered and died as Nyx appeared from the shadows, her thermal abilities having allowed her to bypass security through the station's heating ducts. "Get them to extraction point Alpha," Dex ordered as Nyx began gathering the disoriented captives. "I'm going for the data core." "That wasn't part of the plan," Ilara warned, helping a young Terran woman to her feet. "Plans change," Dex replied, already moving toward the administrative section. "We need to know who's behind this operation." The data core was protected by minimal security, the auction house operators never expecting anyone to reach this far. Dex downloaded everything, client lists, supplier information, financial transactions, before planting explosive charges on the main servers. "Extraction team status," he demanded through the comm. 26 captives secured," reported Callista. "Shuttles departing now. Where are you, Hawkins?" "On my way." He set the charges for 3 minutes and ran. The first alarm sounded as he reached the main level. Private security forces flooded the halls, but the wealthy patrons were evacuating in panic, Ilara's empathic influence causing chaos throughout the station. Dex fought his way to extraction point Beta, where Nyx waited with the final shuttle. They lifted off as the first explosions rocked the station, crippling its communications array and life support systems. As they rejoined the Nomad at the rendezvous point, Dex watched the auction house's golden spires fracture and break apart. They'd struck the first blow against the trafficking network, but the data he'd stolen would lead them to bigger targets and greater dangers. In the cargo bay, surrounded by rescued captives, the 7 alien women looked to him with newfound respect. This was no longer just an alliance of convenience. They had become something more, a family forged in vengeance, bound by shared purpose, and increasingly by deeper emotions none of them had anticipated. The mood aboard the Nomad had shifted. Success bred confidence, and confidence bred ambition. For 3 weeks since the Nexus raid, they'd been systematically working through the data Dex had stolen, dismantling smaller trafficking operations across 2 sectors. 7 slaver vessels neutralized, over 100 captives freed, and countless corrupt officials exposed to Galactic Union authorities. Dex stood in the command center, holographic star charts illuminating his face as he studied potential targets. The data from the auction house had revealed a complex network reaching higher into the Galactic Union than anyone had suspected. "We should hit the refueling station at Vega Prime next," suggested Talia, her feline form perched on a console nearby. In recent days, she'd taken to staying close to Dex, her territorial instincts becoming increasingly apparent to the others. "It's a major transit point for slave ships." "Too heavily guarded," countered Callista, entering with precise military bearing. The Visharan had become Dex's de facto second-in-command, her tactical experience proving invaluable. The Arcturus depot would be a more strategic target. The tension between the 2 women was palpable. What had begun as professional rivalry had evolved into something more primal, especially after Dex had saved Callista's life during their raid on a pirate outpost in the Cygnus sector. The lingering touches, the prolonged eye contact, it hadn't gone unnoticed by the others. "Perhaps we should consult Ilara before deciding," Dex suggested diplomatically. The Ataraxians' empathic abilities had become central to their operations, allowing them to navigate complex social situations and anticipate enemy responses. Ilara is indisposed, came Nyx's hissing voice as the Dracari entered. Her crimson scales gleamed under the ship's lights. She received a transmission an hour ago and has locked herself in her quarters. Dex frowned. A transmission from whom? Unknown, replied Meridia, her crystalline form materializing from the corridor. But I detected quantum encryption consistent with Union intelligence protocols. The implications hung heavy in the air. A secure transmission using official channels could mean many things, none of them reassuring. I'll speak with her, Dex decided, moving toward the residential section of the ship. Talia slid from her perch, blocking his path with fluid grace. I'll come with you, she said, eyes narrowing. My senses may be useful. Before Dex could respond, the ship's alarms blared to life. Ria's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Union military signatures. They rushed to the bridge, where Ria's silver hands danced over the controls. The Synthian's connection to the ship systems provided real-time tactical data that flashed across the main view screen. 3 Union destroyers, she reported. Standard military pattern suggests a capture operation, not destruction. How did they find us? Demanded Callista, already activating defensive protocols. We've been running silent for days. A soft voice from the doorway answered, I told them. They turned to see Ilara, her violet skin pale, her luminescent patterns dim with distress. You betrayed us, Nyx hissed, thermal energy radiating from her scales as her body temperature spiked with rage. Not betrayal, Ilara said quietly. Negotiation. She stepped fully into the bridge, her empathic abilities subtly projecting calm despite the chaos. The Union has offered amnesty for all of us in exchange for information on the trafficking networks. Amnesty from whom? Challenged Pax, the four-armed thief emerging from the maintenance shaft where she'd been upgrading the ship's stealth systems. The same officials who profit from our kind being sold like cargo. Not all the Union is corrupt, Ilara insisted. There's an internal investigation division that's been tracking the same networks we have. They want to work with us. Dex's mind raced, analyzing the tactical situation. 3 destroyers meant they were outgunned and outmaneuvered. Flight wasn't an option. If they wanted cooperation, why send warships? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Insurance, Ilara admitted. They don't trust us, but they've promised safe passage and protection in exchange for our data and testimony. Or they'll simply eliminate loose ends, countered Callista, her military experience making her inherently suspicious of official deals. The comm system crackled as an incoming transmission broke through their security protocols. A stern female voice filled the bridge. Unregistered vessel Nomad, this is Commander Vex of the Galactic Union Enforcement Division. You are surrounded. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Dex looked at his crew, 7 extraordinary women who had become his family, his purpose. Trust had been their foundation, and now that foundation was cracked. Options, he asked, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. We fight, said Nyx immediately, her thermal blades already glowing hot in her hands. We run, suggested Pax, pointing to a gap in the destroyer formation where a skilled pilot might slip through. Or we negotiate, said Ilara softly, on our terms, not theirs. Dex made his decision. Ria, open a channel to Commander Vex. As the Synthian complied, he added, but keep our defensive systems primed. Pax, prepare the emergency protocols we discussed. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced human woman with cropped silver hair and the decorated uniform of Union Special Forces. Commander Vex, Dex began, we received your invitation, but 3 destroyers seems excessive for a friendly meeting. Dex Hawkins, Vex replied, her expression unchanging. Former Terran Special Operations, dishonorably discharged after the Proxima incident, now harboring multiple fugitives and engaging in unsanctioned military operations across Union space. Protecting the innocent from traffickers your organization seems unable or unwilling to stop, he countered. The commander's eyes narrowed. That's precisely why we're here, Hawkins. The trafficking network reaches high into Union command, too high for normal channels. We need outsiders. If you wanted our help, you could have asked without the warships. Insurance, Vex said, echoing Ilara's earlier explanation. I've spent 5 years building this case. I can't risk losing it now. Dex glanced at Alara, whose empathic abilities were focused on reading the commander's projected emotions through the screen. She gave a subtle nod. Vex was being truthful, at least partially. We'll meet, Dex decided. But not on your ships and not on mine. Neutral territory, the abandoned mining station in Sector 7. 2 hours from now. You bring 2 officers, I'll bring 2 of my crew. After a moment's hesitation, Vex nodded. Agreed, but be warned, Hawkins, any sign of treachery and those destroyers will reduce your ship to atoms. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. You trust her? Asked Callista, clearly skeptical. Not entirely, Dex admitted. But Alara senses no immediate deception, and we need allies against what we're facing. Who will you take to this meeting? Asked Meridia, her crystalline structure refracting light in patterns that betrayed her anxiety. Dex looked at each of them in turn, weighing their unique abilities against the potential threats. Callista for tactical assessment and... He paused, meeting the violet eyes that had started all this. Alara, if this is a trap, we'll need to know immediately. The others accepted his decision with varying degrees of reluctance. As they prepared for the meeting, Talia pulled Dex aside in the weapons locker, her feline features intense. If they betray you, she said softly, placing a small tracking device in his palm, we will tear apart their fleet to find you. The fierce loyalty in her eyes stirred something in Dex that he'd been trying to suppress since their first meeting. On impulse, he leaned forward, pressing his lips to hers. Her momentary surprise melted into passionate response, sharp teeth nipping gently at his lip before they separated. I'll hold you to that promise, he whispered, tucking the tracker into his boot. As he departed with Callista and Alara in the shuttle, Dex couldn't shake the feeling that regardless of Commander Vex's intentions, they were crossing a threshold from which there would be no return. The true battle against the heart of the trafficking network was only beginning. And somewhere in that network was the answer to the question that had haunted him since discovering the slave ship. Who controlled the strings of this vast criminal enterprise, and how high did the corruption truly reach? The abandoned mining station orbited silently around a dying red dwarf, its rusted superstructure a testament to forgotten industry. Dex guided the shuttle through a debris field, the perfect natural defense against sudden attacks or reinforcements. Beside him, Callista maintained a vigilant watch while Alara sat in meditative stillness, her empathic senses extended to their limits. 2 life signs approaching from the north docking bay, Callista reported, checking her scanner. 1 human, 1 uncertain, possibly Arcturian. Commander Vex and her second, Dex confirmed, landing their shuttle in the designated hangar. Remember, we're here to listen, not commit. Trust nothing without verification. The meeting place, once an administrative office, was now stripped and decaying, emergency lighting casting long shadows across empty spaces. Dex entered first, his hand never straying far from his concealed blaster. Commander Vex waited at a makeshift table, accompanied by a tall, multi-eyed Arcturian whose ceremonial Union intelligence insignia identified him as a high-ranking analyst. Vex's stern expression softened slightly at their arrival, a professional's acknowledgement of equals. Hawkins, she greeted with a curt nod. You've been thorough in dismantling the outer rings of the network. Impressive work. Necessity, not choice, Dex replied, taking a seat opposite her. Your turn, Commander. Why are we here? Vex activated a holographic display showing a complex organizational structure. Operation Stardust. 5 years of undercover work tracking trafficking operations across 17 sectors. Her finger traced upward through the hierarchy. We've identified corruption reaching as high as the Vice Admiral of Union Fleet Operations. Brennan, Callista's silver eyes widened. He oversees security protocols for half the quadrant. Which explains how the traffickers always stay 1 step ahead of enforcement, Vex confirmed. But Brennan is merely an asset, not the architect. Alara leaned forward, her luminescent patterns pulsing with intensity as she scanned Vex's emotions. You know who controls it all, she stated. Why not move against them directly? Because the true power behind the network is beyond Union jurisdiction, replied the Arcturian analyst, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence. Ambassador Zorax of the Draconian Hegemony. Nix would have recognized the name instantly. The Draconian Hegemony, a sovereign power outside Union control, an empire built on strict hierarchical principles where the strong ruled the weak by birthright. Diplomatic immunity, Dex realized. You can't touch him without starting an interstellar incident. Precisely, confirmed Vex. Zorax operates from Shadow Station, a private installation in neutral space between Union and hegemony territories. His diplomatic status protects him from official action. But not from us, Callista concluded, understanding dawning in her silver eyes. Plausible deniability, agreed Dex, the pieces falling into place. You want us to do your dirty work. Vex leaned forward, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine conviction. I want justice for thousands of victims. Official channels have failed. You and your crew represent our best hope. Alara's gaze was unflinching as she assessed the commander's emotional state. She believes what she's saying, she confirmed to Dex. But there's something else, something personal. Vex hesitated before reaching into her uniform, withdrawing a holographic projector. A young woman's image appeared, human, with Vex's same determined eyes. My sister, she said quietly. Taken 5 years ago from a research outpost, intelligence suggests she was sold through Zorax's network. The revelation hung in the silence between them. Dex exchanged glances with Callista and Alara, an unspoken agreement passing between them. We'll need everything you have on Shadow Station, Dex said finally. Security protocols, guard rotations, access codes. Already compiled, Vex replied, sliding a data crystal across the table. My destroyers will create a diversion at the hegemony border, drawing attention away from neutral space. And afterward, asked Callista, the tactical mind always thinking ahead. Complete amnesty for you and your crew, Vex promised, plus resources to start new lives wherever you choose. Dex pocketed the crystal, his decision made. We'll contact you when it's done. Back aboard the Nomad, the full crew gathered in the command center as Dex outlined the mission. Shadow Station's schematics hovered in three-dimensional detail, highlighting defense systems and potential entry points. This goes beyond revenge, he explained. We take down Zorax, we collapse the entire network. The security is formidable, noted Pax, her 4 arms gesturing at different sections of the hologram. Quantum-locked barriers, phase-shift detection grids. But not insurmountable, countered Rhea, her synthetic brain already calculating bypass parameters. Especially with Union intelligence support. Talia prowled the perimeter of the hologram, golden eyes gleaming. What's the approach? 3 teams, Dex decided. Callista and I infiltrate the diplomatic level to locate Zorax. Pax and Nyx disable security from the maintenance shafts. Talia and Alara extract any captives from the lower levels. And us? Asked Meridia, indicating herself and Rhea. You two are our emergency extraction, Dex replied. If everything goes wrong, Meridia creates chaos while Rhea brings the Nomad in for pickup. For hours they refined the plan, anticipating contingencies, preparing for betrayal. Throughout, Dex noticed the shifting dynamics between them, competition giving way to cooperation, distrust evolving into deep loyalty. These extraordinary women had become more than allies, they were family. And family protected its own. Shadow Station loomed against the starfield, its distinctive architecture reflecting draconian aesthetics, angular and predatory. The Nomad approached under stealth, using the sensor shadow of a passing comet to mask their final approach. Union destroyers have engaged hegemony patrols at the border, reported Rhea, monitoring communications. Diversion successful. Dex checked his weapons one final time before gathering the infiltration teams in the airlock. The moment felt weighted with finality, as if regardless of outcome, nothing would be the same afterward. Talia approached him, her feline movements fluid with predatory grace. Without words, she pulled him into a fierce embrace, her lips finding his with possessive intensity. When they separated, her golden eyes held promises for a future he hadn't dared imagine. Return to me, human, she whispered, or I will follow you into the void itself. Callista watched with complex emotions crossing her blue features before stepping forward to press her forehead against his in the V-Sharon warrior's blessing. Fight well, she murmured, her silver eyes meeting his. We shall speak of other matters when this is done. One by one, the others offered their own farewells. Nyx's respectful nod, Pax's four-armed salute, Meridia's crystalline embrace that refracted light like tears, Rhea's solemn handclasp, and finally Alara, whose violet hands framed his face as her empathic abilities projected not words but pure emotion, trust, hope, and something deeper still. "Let's finish this," Dex said, his voice rough with emotion he couldn't fully express. The infiltration proceeded with precision born of practice and trust. Pax's technical genius and Nyx's thermal abilities created pathways through security that should have been impenetrable. Alara's empathic projections confused guards, while Talia's hunting instincts led them unerringly to holding cells where captives waited in neural suppression. Meanwhile, Dex and Callista fought their way to the diplomatic level, their synchronized combat style testament to weeks of training together. Union intelligence had been accurate. Ambassador Zorax maintained private chambers at the heart of the station, protected by elite draconian guards. "Status," Dex demanded through their secure comm as they took cover from energy fire in an ornate corridor. "Security hub neutralized," reported Nyx, the sound of combat audible behind her voice. "Pax is extracting data on the entire operation." 17 captives located and freed, added Talia, including a human female matching Commander Vex's sister. Alara is guiding them to extraction point. Callista checked her scanner, frowning at the readings. Zorax is behind that door, but he's not alone. Multiple draconian life signs. "We finish this together," Dex decided, meeting her silver eyes. In that moment, something passed between them, understanding, respect, and possibilities for a future beyond vengeance. They breached the chamber in perfect coordination, stun grenades disorienting the guards while precisely targeted shots disabled rather than killed. At the chamber's center stood Ambassador Zorax, an imposing draconian elder whose elaborate ceremonial armor couldn't hide the corruption in his reptilian eyes. "You dare," he hissed, mandibles flaring with indignation. "I am a diplomatic representative of the hegemony." "You're a trafficker," Dex replied coldly, his weapon trained on the ambassador's chest. "And your operation ends today." Zorax laughed, the sound like stones grinding together. "You understand nothing, human. The strong dominate the weak. It is the natural order of the universe." "Not anymore," Callista stated, her Visharan military bearing projecting absolute authority. "Your networks are exposed, your data compromised, your captives freed." The ambassador's eyes narrowed with calculating malice. "Kill me, and the hegemony will declare war on the Union. Millions will die for your misguided sense of justice." "Who said anything about killing you?" Dex replied with a grim smile. He activated a small device, projecting a holographic feed showing Pax in the security hub, transmitting data. "Right now, evidence of your operation is being broadcast to both Union Command and the Draconian High Council." Zorax's composure fractured. "Impossible, the Council would never." "Even your own government has limits," interrupted Callista, "especially when your private profits threatened hegemony stability." A proximity alarm sounded throughout the station as multiple ships dropped out of hyperspace. The comm crackled with Rhea's urgent voice. "Dex, hegemony battle cruisers approaching. We need immediate extraction." "Time to go," Dex said, activating neural restraints around the stunned ambassador. "You're coming with us, evidence for both governments." As they dragged Zorax toward the extraction point, the station shuddered under external fire. The hegemony was eliminating evidence and witnesses. "Rhea, status on extraction." Dex shouted into his comm as they ran, Callista covering their retreat with precise covering fire. "Talia and Alara have the captives aboard," came the Cynthian's calm reply. "Meridia is creating a diversion at the main docking bay. Pax and Nyx are pinned down in Sector 3. "Redirect to their position," ordered Dex. "We'll meet you there." They fought through deteriorating corridors, the station's artificial gravity fluctuating as systems failed under hegemony bombardment. Rounding a corner, they found Pax and Nyx surrounded by draconian security forces. What followed was chaos, coordinated, lethal chaos. 4 women and 1 man who had become a perfect combat unit, protecting each other with the instinctive awareness of those who had forged bonds beyond mere alliance. When a draconian guard targeted Dex with a plasma weapon, Callista threw herself into its path, her shield absorbing the blast but shattering in the process. As she fell, Dex caught her, rage and fear fueling his counterattack. "Stay with me," he urged, applying pressure to her wounded shoulder. Her silver eyes found his, pain evident but determination stronger. "It would take more than this to separate us now, Hawkins." Together they fought their way to the Nomad, where Rhea piloted with preternatural precision, navigating debris fields and weapons fire. In the cargo hold, Alara tended the freed captives, while Meridia used her indestructible form to shield vulnerable areas of the ship from incoming fire. Talia met them at the airlock, her relief at seeing Dex alive transforming to concern at Callista's injury. Without hesitation, she helped support the wounded V. Sharon, setting aside rivalry in the face of shared danger. "Hegemony ships in pursuit," reported Rhea as they secured Zorax in the brig. "Union destroyers moving to intercept, but they're outnumbered." "Get us to the rendezvous coordinates," Dex ordered, moving to Callista's side where Alara was treating her wound. "How is she?" "I will survive," Callista answered for herself, her military discipline evident despite the pain. "The mission succeeded, that is what matters." Talia approached, her golden fur bristling with unresolved tension. "And afterward?" she asked, the question directed at both Dex and Callista. "When this ends?" The question hung between them as the Nomad jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind the burning husk of Shadow Station and the collapsing remains of a criminal empire that had spanned the galaxy. 1 month later, on a remote world at the edge of charted space, 7 extraordinary women and 1 former space marine gathered on the porch of a sprawling compound nestled between mountains and sea. Commander Vex had kept her promise: full amnesty, new identities, and resources to build whatever future they chose. For Dex Hawkins, that future had proven more complex and more rewarding than he could have imagined. The battle against the trafficking network had exposed corruption throughout the Union and forced reforms that would protect countless lives. Zorax faced justice before both human and draconian tribunals, his empire dismantled piece by piece. But the greater challenge and the greater reward lay in the family they had built together. 7 women from across the galaxy, each extraordinary in her own way, each finding her place in their shared home. Callista stood at his right, her military precision softened by the peace they had found, her silver eyes reflecting starlight. Talia lounged at his left, her feline possessiveness tempered by the understanding that some bonds transcended exclusive claims. Around them, the others had found their purposes. Alara establishing a sanctuary for empaths and telepaths, Nyx training a new generation of warriors in thermal manipulation, Pax designing security systems impossible to breach, Meridia exploring her artistic talents after centuries of warfare, and Rhea developing medical applications for her synthetic biology. They had begun as strangers united by captivity and vengeance. They had become family bound by choice and love. "Do you ever miss it?" asked Alara, sensing the contemplative turn of Dex's thoughts. "The fighting, the mission." "No," he answered honestly, looking at each of them in turn. "I found something better than revenge." Talia's purr of contentment mingled with Callista's soft laughter as they watched the twin moons rise over their sanctuary. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them together, not as captives or saviors, but as equals who had chosen their own destiny. In a galaxy where the strong had always dominated the weak, they had created something revolutionary, a family forged in fire, tempered by love, and stronger than any force that might threaten it. For Dex Hawkins, former space marine and accidental hero, it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.